So the game developers of Halo 3, Bungie, loved elevators. Every single Halo game that they developed had no shortage of elevators. But in Halo 3, there's something unique that the other games don't have. Every single elevator goes both up and down. And every single one of these elevators has a load zone that you have to activate in order to progress through the mission. But what if it were possible to beat Halo 3 without using an elevator? Let's give it a shot! So the first elevator in Halo 3 is located on the Mission Crow's Nest. And in looking at it, you might think, wow, that should be pretty easy. It looks like you could basically jungle gym your way up the entire rung structure of this elevator. Well, unfortunately, that is not the case. There's actually a death barrier about halfway up the elevator that if you do not activate the elevator in the first place, will kill you automatically. So our goal was to not use the elevators, but we could still activate them. I would still have to somehow find a way to get up this elevator without dying. So my idea for this was to build a catapult and then launch myself all the way from the bottom of the elevator to the top using a gravity hammer. And luckily, there is a gravity hammer that drops from a brute chieftain just before you get to this elevator room. So now that I had my force multiplying tool, I needed to collect parts of this catapult in order to build it. Now, my idea was to use a fulcrum using a gate that spawns just before the gap across the elevator. Okay, so I need to rattle this cage across the way here. So by standing behind this fence and swinging this gravity hammer, I attempted to get this fence all the way across this water gap to where the elevator is actually located. So this fence is actually too large to get through the doorway, and it would be far too tedious to try to get it through everything anyways, so getting it across this gap would be the most efficient way to transport it. Land. Damn it. Come on. So after 5 to 10 minutes of failed attempts, I decided, wait, there's a way easier way to do this. The gravity hammer is way too powerful to get any consistency with where this fence goes. Just remembered I could just shoot it over with the VR and then do that first try. Perfect, just what we like to see. So now that I had the first piece of my catapult where it needed to be, I would need to clear out all the enemies in the barracks and find an item that I could use as the fulcrum. And I settled on this cute little barrel. Can you not do that? What the f*** are you? I'm using this.
I guess we just don't count, huh?
Yeah, you don't f***ing count. You don't f***ing count. Remember that, idiot. So now that I had called the elevator and I had my fence and my barrel, I needed to get all of this set up. But we have a little bit of a problem. Getting this set up is pretty tricky. So the fence sits flat on the ground, which makes it basically impossible to get a grenade under it. And because it's flat on the ground, I can't really shoot it or hammer it with any predictability. I need to get this fence upright so that I can lean it on top of a barrel. From here, I am going to stand on one side like a teeter-totter and swing my gravity hammer at the other side, hoping that it catapults me all the way up the shaft. And it didn't work. And when I died from this the very first attempt, I realized that I didn't have a single checkpoint along the way, so my entire setup was all for nothing. I made a mistake last night. I realized I didn't get the right checkpoints, and also I was using the wrong items. So I'm going to try with some different items. So instead of a barrel this time, I decided to use a crate as the fulcrum. Yeah, I did it. Shoot me. F*** you, f***ing piece of shit. What a good start to this. Get the hell out of my elevator. I'm serious, bro. Pissing me off. Your antics. Oh.
We're allies.
Yeah, we're allies. That's why you're with my dude. It's like I'm playing with my brother or something, dude. So after around 30 minutes of setting everything up and beating the Arbiter off of my box, I was ready to give this a shot. I found out pretty quickly that using just a hammer on this rig would not give you the height needed to reach the top of the elevator. So I tried using a plasma grenade at first, and this just didn't seem to work. So I switched to a frag grenade, and on the first attempt, this happened. Oh. Boom! Boom! That was sick! The elevator's not even called, but the mission seems to be loading normally. So I'm gonna play through and see if all is in fact well. So this is a little bit different because the Pelican is actually still up here and it's supposed to be leaving. Wait. Who said that? The Pelican driver just said that? Hello, it's Miranda Keys again. So you can see her sitting up here in the Pelican right now. That's something you don't see. She's even got the Magnum on her hip. So now that I had cleared all the enemies, I had another problem that I ran into. The door that would normally open to proceed to the mission was closed, and I couldn't figure out why this was. I had killed all of the enemies, so hypothetically the mission should proceed. And then I found a lone brute basically hiding in a corner. Oh, there's one brute just chilling up here, not moving. That's why the mission won't progress. It's not because it's broken. And to get to the next part of the mission, you need to kill every enemy in this area. And after doing this, I was able to successfully hit the trigger for the next part of the mission, which means that Elevator 1 was complete. So there are only 3 actual playable elevators in Halo 3, but there are 5 in total. And the second one is on the same mission, Crow's Nest. Unfortunately, there's not really a way to skip this elevator because this elevator is the final ride of the mission that then takes you down a shaft that then starts you on the next mission, Sabo Highway. But I wanted to see if it were somehow possible to activate this elevator early, before the door is even open. Basically, what I'm trying to do here is get a player stuck here, right by this crack, and then I'm going to go jump off the edge, and hopefully I spawn in the other side of this room where the final elevator is. So in Halo 3, you can clip into spaces you're not supposed to get in, but you need to surround a player with enough stuff so that the closest available spawning area is on the other side of the wall. So in order to do this, I needed 2 large crates and 1 smaller crate to be completely surrounding one player. Once this player was trapped, I would then die and hopefully spawn on the other side of the room. My screen like went black. While my grouping was tight, for whatever reason I had this weird glitch spawn where I was still spawning in the map. So my idea was to throw a deployable cover on top of the player and then see if I would spawn in the room then. And this also didn't work, which brought me to the conclusion that I would probably need at least 3 players and 2 players to spawn at the same time on player 1. But because I had already spent all the time to set this up, I decided to give it a few more tries. I think I need at least 3 players to get in here. Oh, no I don't. I only need 2. There we go. I spawned on the other side of the room. Boom. So I'm in the elevator that you're supposed to get to later. And there's a button that is really, 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 really far. Okay, I can't even hit this button's not even real. So I decided to jump down this elevator shaft and see what happened, and much to my surprise, I actually hit a load zone that then spawned in the elevator. Oh, and then by going down there, it brought the elevator up here because I hit a load zone. It turns yellow once. But this is the load zone later that basically signals that you have completed the mission. So now we are on to our final 2 playable elevators, both located on the Covenant. And what's very unique about these elevators is they're very, very tall, and the way back is the way that you came, which is a several 100-foot drop to the bottom. So I was going to have to figure out, 1, how to get up this without using the elevator, and then 2, how to get back down. I'm going to try to use this Warthog because what my plan is to use a Warthog launch to go up this entire elevator shaft. So the plan was pretty simple. I was going to try to use a Warthog launch to launch all the way up the shaft without activating the elevator. Now, you need a couple of things in order to do this, and namely the tilt and cowbell skulls. The tilt skull upgrades ranks of most enemies, and for whatever reason, this also applies to vehicles. We need this vehicle to stay intact and not blow up, or else we will die upon the grenade exploding. Now, the cowbell skull is an explosion multiplier skull, so if we take the Warthog and stick the bumper with a plasma grenade, we can launch all the way up if we do it right. Okay, now that we've got that all cleared up, I need to get this Warthog through this door because I'm going to use it to launch up this elevator shaft, but I'm just going to try to beat it forward because it's got this weird, like, it does not like this barrier. Watch. Look, see? It wants to suck me back in. It does not want you to have vehicles in this area. So, using the tilt skull gives you the ability to basically beat vehicles and throw as many grenades at vehicles as you want. Okay. You can see, like, literally there's a, I can't even go back this direction because of this barrier. So that's where it ends. But basically, I'm just going to go around here. There we go. That is okay. Okay, so in order to do this, you need 2 players because there is a load zone right about there. And if you have 1 player, then the second player will load to the bottom of the shaft and you won't be able to do this. I just got a checkpoint, which is awesome. Both players need to make it up at the same pace so one doesn't hit the load zone before the other. So in order to do this, you need to hit the load zone at the same pace and one player cannot launch up faster than the other or else they will revert back down to the bottom of the elevator for both players. Oh, I missed it, but I got it on the second controller. Now, I'm doing this completely alone, so there's a controller here, and I'm using my keyboard on a separate laptop. Oops. Went a little too fast. Okay, it is possible, but I have to do this just right, and I need to do it on this one and the other person. Oh, we both died. Shit. Oh, I died too many times in a row, reset my checkpoint. So Halo 3 has this really helpful mechanic that prevents you from getting stuck in death loop. So if both players die 3 to 5 times in a row within 5 seconds, it will actually revert your checkpoint 2 checkpoints back. And while helpful for regular players, this is my worst nightmare. But luckily, I was able to get my setup within just a few minutes of this revert. One. Oh, no! I'm doing it too well. Okay, that's 1. And... oh, that's 2! Yes, bro! Yes! Easy money! Oh, it's just getting too easy. And now we got this guy, like, worshiping him like he's some sort of god or something. They respect that launch so much, they're just gonna let me chill up here. That's not me. I just realized I'm really, really lucky that this deployable cover is here because I had nothing else to jump off of, and I didn't think about that until now. So... okay, so now that we've gotten up the elevator, we need to find a way to get back down. But it's extremely crucial that we don't make a really innocent mistake. So we need to think about how we're going to get up and down the next elevator on this mission. There aren't vehicles later in the mission because they all despawn and you can't even get one into the area even if you wanted to. But there are explosives. So my plan was to drop this invincibility down this elevator shaft so that I could use it for later. I have an idea. I'm gonna do a 2-player head jump equipment boost. You're going to see what that means here in a sec, don't worry. But now, we need to focus on how we're actually going to get down this. The fall timer in Halo 3 is pretty unforgiving, and this elevator shaft exceeds well past the limit that you could realistically fall without dying. So, I can't survive this regularly. if you know what I'm saying.
Sergeant Major.
So what I'm going to have to do
It's all up to Johnson's team now.
is
Get back outside, Chief. Wait for transport.
just watch. I'll just show you. I'll explain this in voiceover. So in order to combat the fact that we can't just jump straight down this elevator shaft, we need to reset the fall timer. So the plan is to have one player stand on another player's head, have the bottom player walk off the edge, and then jump off their head as close as you humanly can to them dying to fall timer. This then resets the fall timer again, and then I will jump off another piece of equipment as I fall even lower down the elevator. The entire time that I'm doing this, I will have to swing my gravity hammer to slow my momentum so they don't die to the fall timer. Player 2, I'm going to have them slowly walk off the edge. Ah!
I'm on my way.
See, I need to be on his head more consistently. He's bumping the edge. What I need to do is have him fall off the edge and then jump off his head at the last second, swing my hammer, fall more, jump off my equipment, and then hammer more so I can live this fall. What the... Ah! Yes! Boom! Look at how freaking big that is, dude. Woo! One elevator down, one to go. Okay, the next elevator is after this Hornet battle. So at the third tower on the mission, the Covenant, there are 6 plasma batteries that I plan on using to create a massive explosion that will then launch me all the way up the elevator. But these explosives are very sensitive, so I need to transport them to the elevator very carefully. But there's a little bit of a problem with that. There's both a lot of enemies in this area, including hunters, brutes, and drones, and a lot of friendly allies. So I have to be extremely cautious. Now I need to round up all these plasma batteries here, see? I'm actually... What? Really? Explain the physics on that one. Huh. I'm blue, I'm a lead, I'm a blue, a lead, I'm a blue. Damn it! I was not supposed to use that. Well, you know, wasted a couple minutes there. But it's fine. At this point, I realized that the fighting between the enemies and my allies had blown up pretty much every single plasma battery except for 2. Did they blow up more? Ugh. This was the worst case scenario, so I just decided to restart the mission entirely. Motherfucker. I didn't mean to get that checkpoint either. So, 45 minutes later, I had everything set up again, and then the nightmare got even worse. In killing the drones that came down the elevator, I accidentally shot a fuel rod that somehow hit a wall next to me and blew up 2 of the 6 plasma batteries. Now, I needed every single plasma battery to get the maximum launch, and I didn't have a checkpoint for this either, so I had one singular attempt with 4 plasma batteries to pull this off. Absolutely preposterous setup situation. I shouldn't have had explosives. I can't be trusted. And now I just gotta kind of hope that I get it on this attempt, or else I'm gonna have to reset all of this again, which will be so much fun. Wasn't even close. Oh, that's no way. So remember how I was complaining just a couple seconds earlier that I didn't have a checkpoint and I only had one attempt? Well, in my first attempt, I hit the load zone and fell far enough back down into the map that I didn't die, which then triggered a checkpoint. So now I had no option other than to just give up on this entirely. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. Oh, I just wasted 50 minutes on that. Oh, okay. It's 10:33 at night. I don't know if I can do this, guys. I'm sorry. So, you guys know that I always give it a shot, and I'm not going to quit on anything. So, the very next day, I spent over an hour setting this all up again. So, my plan was to throw a grenade and use a brute shot, and then pull out my gravity hammer to launch myself further on the way up. but I would need to activate my invincibility every time before I did this. Okay, that's way better just off the rip. So in testing this, the brute shot wasn't really working with a grenade, so I decided to try this with just a hammer instead. Hopefully the gravity multiplier from the explosion and the swing would propel me way further than the brute shot would. Getting close. Yeah, I'm getting closer. I'm finally getting closer. I really think I do just have to stand center mass. Damn it! After almost an entire hour of attempting this, these were the closest attempts I had, and they still weren't even that close to getting to where I needed to be. So I needed to change my strategy entirely again. I decided to make the sacrifice once more and restart the mission again and set this up from the beginning. This time, I wanted to stack every single plasma battery vertically because I thought that that would probably have a higher explosion multiplier than sitting on its side. For whatever reason, in Halo 3, the fusion coils, when stacked vertically and used for a launch, get you much more distance than when stacked horizontally. I was going to apply this to the plasma batteries as well, but then I realized after I had this all set up that I had one plasma battery that was exploded at some point. So I only had 5 vertically stacked plasma batteries to get this done. And then I discovered that the orientation of the plasma batteries doesn't matter at all, and that 6 plasma battery was the force multiplier that was getting me up even further. So at this point, I had no other option than to try one last resort. I was going to stack a crate on top of these plasma batteries and see if I could use this item as a catapult or something to launch me even further. Okay, well, I think I figured out the formula. So I have this stacked vertically on 5 of these boxes, and I think I can make this second try. So I've wasted 3 hours, and watch this. Yep. That was so easy. Why didn't I do that before? So now that I had successfully gotten up this elevator, what I didn't mention is that I was actually doing this solo, whereas when I got down the elevator previously, I was doing it with another player. I wanted to challenge myself to make this even harder to see if I could somehow pull this off alone. How? Well, my intention was to use a crate again. I was going to hit this crate and ride it down the elevator shaft to use it as I was using the previous person. I would jump off it just the same way, but I did not even know if this was possible. First, I tried beating it down off the edge, and this was too inconsistent, so I started jumping and shooting it off the edge and then landing on it in midair. And just a short hour and a half later, it finally happened. Yes! Finally! Oh, that took forever. Woo! Okay, guys, there's actually a 5th elevator in Halo 3, but this elevator is part of a cutscene, so it is unskippable. I'm going to show you how to get to this elevator anyways, and you can actually do this without the acrophobia skull. using the same exact methods that I used to get down the elevator previously. It's an exact same copy of these elevators, but it's just a little bit different. So basically what we're going to do is trigger a cutscene overlap. It's going to glitch out and deload the elevator in the Citadel. You go up to this part of the tower right here, right along this edge. Okay, see, all you got to do is stand over this edge or over there and it'll activate the cutscene. It's supposed to pop up and say Revelation on the bottom, but in recording this, that completely disappeared. Now you go destroy the Scarab. The Scarab's exploding. Just play through the mission. You don't even have to kill any of the other enemies. Okay, so if you were doing this normally, you would need some sort of explosive or gravity hammer. You need to get through this cutscene door pretty quickly, and that's the key to triggering the cutscene overlap. If you don't get through this quickly enough, and you aren't close enough to that door at the end of the hallway, this won't activate. So you can actually get a vehicle in here. There's a soft barrier, but it won't activate until you get about halfway through the second glass panel. So I'm just going to fly through because, you know, I've been doing this for 7.5 hours, and this elevator really doesn't count. You can see I got a cutscene overlap, and it glitches out the game really badly. But you'll see I have black bars permanently. There's a checkpoint here. I could actually probably try to get down, but basically you can go down this elevator. There's not a death barrier or anything, just a fall timer. And you can see this is the door that Master Chief comes through in the cutscene, and this is the elevator he actually goes up. This is the screen that the Prophet of Regret is on, and there's actually a hole over here that goes down. So I'll just go in this hole real quick. I'll turn on my flashlight so you can see. But this hole is an exact copy of the hole at the end of the mission. So as you can see, there's nothing up there. That's the hole down there. We go back up. What you can see is this is an exact copy of this hole right here. You can't access this till the end of the mission, but that's actually what it looks like. If you want to see exactly what that hole looks like, you can go down this elevator.